I think we should be very proud of it.
Yeah.
And I could check my ego, and it is what it is. Maybe Chappelle will see it one day, and maybe he'll change his tune. And if he doesn't, that's fine too. But I think the takeaway from this is I'm not going to get a Chappelle chain anytime soon. And you know what? I can live with that. I think I'll be okay. You know, and if Dave wants to rethink that, then we can have that discussion.
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm taking you through the time Dave Chappelle hurt Andrew Schulz's feelings and caused him to have a borderline nervous breakdown. It was like watching a child being told that Santa Claus isn't real. And it all has to do with Schulz's transition from stand-up comedy to internet comedian during the pandemic. Their little beef started on episode 1647 of JRE, where Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan were discussing the difference between when they came up through the comedy scene compared to how it is now for the younger guys.
In the 90s, you go to the comedian's parking lot at the Comedy Store. That shit used to be filled with shitty cars.
Yeah.
And now you'll see a guy you never even heard of get into the hottest whip.
Yep.
It's that now.
Yeah.
I don't know. These guys look like straight up contest winners. Like, who the is this guy? But they're killing it.
Internet money.
Right.
Now, of course, Rogan wouldn't know anything about internet money, right? Oh, hang on. Never mind. So Chappelle makes a really interesting point about how the process is different. If you haven't seen my recent video called Is Joe Rogan Funny?, you should check it out because I shed some light on their different approaches to stand-up comedy, and it also includes Louis C.K. and Bill Burr. But basically, Chappelle's referring to his style of developing jokes by doing live shows, starting with a basic idea or a premise and working it out in front of a crowd. And that's kind of the basis of this whole beef, which I'll come back to in a little bit, because I think both Rogan and Schulz completely missed Chappelle's point here.
We're from a process of refinement that doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
They'll never...
The road when you're anonymous.
Right. The road when you're anonymous. Just being on the strip. Or and it's smoking night. Well, not smoking. No one smokes anymore. But then being in one of those nightclubs and just that's a lot to miss.
Yeah, the grind, the long grind of developing a real act.
Credit to Rogan for still grinding in search of a real act. I think it's nice that his friends all pretend that he's a stand-up comedian. It's ironic because that's funnier than any of his stand-up. Anyway, this is the bit where Rogan brings up Andrew Schulz. Chappelle's giving these new guys credit for finding a different way to do things, but he's still nostalgic for how he came up through that long, hard grind. Mind you, Schulz is 40 years old, hardly an up-and-comer.
I'm impressed that these kids made a new way, but I like the way we do it.
There's a new way that they're doing where one of the things that showed a lot of people's ability to improvise and to change was during COVID, a lot of people started doing things online. And like Andrew Schulz, the best example, I think. He started doing those things like turn your phone sideways and these long rants, like 10, 15-minute rants with photographs and punchline after punchline after punchline. And then they did a whole Netflix special about it.
So for those of you who don't know, back in the pandemic, Andrew Schulz and his boy band started doing these short videos where they mixed in funny observations with social commentary. Schulz was the face of it, and he had a team behind him who co-wrote and produced everything.
Whatever happened to canceling people? Remember those armchair activists that ruin lives for retweets? They've been real quiet lately, huh? I mean, even the Man Haters Club, remember them? Men are trash, cancel all men. Remember Lena Dunham, that actress that looks like a Mucinex germ?
And Rogan really liked it, and for some reason he thought it was an original idea that Dave Chappelle might find interesting too.
He said, okay, I can't do stand-up, but this isn't stand-up, so I shouldn't do stand-up like this because there's no audience. So the key to this, and he figured it out. He's like, the key to this is you got to hit it fast. The punchlines have to come one after the other after the other. It's got to be fast-paced and with images. So like he would use all these visuals while he was hitting punchline after punchline.
Oh, wow.
He figured out a new way to do comedy. He figured out a way to do internet, Instagram, 10-minute comedy.
So there you have it. Schulz revolutionized stand-up comedy, and Rogan and Chappelle spent the rest of the podcast talking about how great he is and what a pioneer he has become. Yeah, nah, just kidding. Chappelle thought it was stupid.
But that's not, like you say, that's not stand-up.
No.
Like this thing that you're describing, God bless him.
Yeah.
That's not what I do.
Yeah, it's different.
Yeah,
it's different. It's different than the way he does stand-up, which is interesting because his stand-up is slower. He holds laughs. He holds pause. He laughs at he works around. He works the crowd a lot.
That's clever.
Yeah.
I don't think it's not, I'm not interested in it because no disrespect to him. I like happening in real life.
Yeah.
Like even during COVID, the fact that we found a way to get in front of audiences again meant the world to me. That's what I do.
Yeah. It's a different thing.
Yeah. I mean, I could throw a slideshow in the if I want to, but that crowd's not there. What's the point for me?
I know what you mean, but for him, he's coming up still. You'd already made it.
Well,
you just wanted to get back in there.
Yeah, and it's a whole different ball of wax. That's what I'm saying. Like that thing that evolution he was able to make. I'm like the old guy who has that hot outfit from the 70s. Go fashion, go on without me. I look fine. I'm that. I'm good.
So this apparently caused a whole bunch of confusion. 50% of people were saying that Dave Chappelle was dissing Andrew Schulz, and the other half were saying that Chappelle just wasn't into it, but thought it was clever and wished Schultzy the best, which was literally what he said, like almost exactly. But anyway, Schulz was just relaxing and minding his business, and then his phone started blowing up.
We're out there in Arizona, we're cooling, chilling by the pool, and all of a sudden people start hitting me up. They're like, yo, Chappelle's on Rogan and he's hating on you, bro. He's throwing shade at you, right? And I'm like, there's no way did Chappelle be throwing shade or even hating or that I would even be on his radar, right? Like, so someone sends me the clip and I check it out and let's play it. Let's play it.
Apparently, it didn't bother him so much that he decided to play the clip from JRE on his own podcast and dedicate a whole segment to reacting and discussing the whole situation, dissecting every little detail and speculating as to what Chappelle may have been thinking and what it all means. And just remember, at this point, Dave Chappelle probably has no idea who Andrew Schulz is. Even though Schulz had been on JRE 4 separate times before that Chappelle podcast, I'm pretty sure he had no idea who he was. So let's see what he had to say and how he broke it all down.
Let me just give some context to this. I think I would have reacted the same way as Dave, given how I was described. Because if Dave has no clue who I am in terms of stand-up, right? And Joe's describing this like kind of YouTube or Instagram comedy, and you know how we all are. The second you tell me about like a funny YouTuber or a funny Instagrammer, we're like, I don't give a what that shit is, a little slideshow.
We stand-ups,
Exactly. We're stand-ups. So it's just like, I understand that first reaction, right? And then, so I probably would have reacted the same way in that regard. But then when Joe's like, no, he's a stand-up, it's different, and he found a way to evolve within the times. And then I think he was a little bit dismissive to it, and he was like, that's not my type of comedy, that's not what I do. And I guess the only pushback I would give there to Dave is that, like, Dave is a household name, not because of stand-up, but because of a different type of comedy.
People know him from Chappelle Show.
Yeah, like sketch show is what made him a household name. Like if you think of like iconic Chappelle lines, you're thinking of lines from...
I was a Dave Chappelle stand-up fan before the show.
We love Dave as a stand-up.
And it wasn't a lot of people like that. I remember going to see him right before the show came out. He was at a theater, but it wasn't like... It was easy to get tickets.
Right.
There was empty seats next to us.
Yeah, it's not like he made it as a household name through stand-up. He didn't make it through stand-up.
Bro, either did you. What are you talking about? This is crazy. Schulz is the perfect example of a stand-up comedian who got famous through the internet, more specifically through going on JRE. Like, how can these Muppets even begin to make that argument? This is what they're trying to say. Dave Chappelle is already famous, so he doesn't need to do things like short social media comedy videos. He can just wait out the pandemic and come back whenever he wants. They're not famous, so they don't have that luxury. They even mention how Rogan and Chappelle's shows had all that COVID testing and how, they couldn't afford to do that, so that wasn't accessible for them. But then they start making the argument that Dave came up through the Chappelle Show and he's mostly known for the show and not stand-up. So which one is it? And why does that even matter? These guys are reading way too much into this, and that's coming from me. Yeah, let that sink in.
And very few comedians break through just as stand-ups. A lot of them will have a show or something else.
Exactly. Yes, 100%. It's very rare.
Right, exactly. So what's the problem? All Chappelle was saying is that he doesn't like how these new guys are coming up through internet fame overnight, raking in these big ad dollars while he had to grind it out doing stand-up before social media and all of that stuff came out. That's the only thing he was saying. He didn't even know who Schulz was. This is crazy, man. Wait till you see what they start saying next.
Do I understand the reaction? Yeah, I think people made too much of it. Like there's some fucking beat or like he's hating on me or shade or that kind of shit. Like I really don't think it is that. But I don't know. I mean, maybe that's just me.
I think he caught himself, and we've all done this. There's nothing wrong with this. You're being a little salty, and then you catch yourself, and I think that's where he said the end part, like, I'm the dude in the 70s with the hot outfit. Like, this is what I do. I think he was like...
I'm hating. Okay, let me explain why I'm hating.
Let me not hate. And I think he was thinking, I'm kind of hating. We've all done this, where you're I think I'm kind of hating. Let me check myself and be real with myself and say, yeah, but I'm an older dude who been doing stand-up 30 years. This is what I know. This is what I'm going to do. I think he caught himself. I do think he knows a little bit about you for sure, us for sure, this podcast for sure.
Okay, Jesus, give me a minute here, guys. All right. Chappelle didn't check himself or pull himself back into line. He said like 2 sentences about the comedy videos. He wasn't interested in them because he's a stand-up comedy purist who likes to work with a crowd. And this is what I mentioned at the beginning of this video about Chappelle's creative process. He doesn't write polished jokes that are super tight and memorize them like Rogan and Schulz. He comes up with a basic premise, maybe a funny situation that he thought of, and then he works it out with a live crowd over and over and over. That's the grind. And if it ends up being funny, he'll work it into one of his stand-up routines and maybe it ends up on a comedy special. That's the point that Chappelle was trying to make to Rogan, but Rogan didn't seem to get it, and the same with Schulz. And the reason why they didn't get it was because they're completely different comedians to Dave Chappelle. They're not even close. The only similarities are that they stand on a stage holding a mic. Now, if you're into Rogan and Schulz's stand-up comedy, I don't have any beef with you. That's not what I'm trying to do here. Good luck to you. Comedy is subjective, and I hope you enjoy it and have a lovely time, blah, 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 blah. But these dudes are completely reaching and reading into a few words that Chappelle said off the cuff in relation to someone who he didn't even know, who was making videos that he's never seen. Who cares? Move on. Get a grip.
For me, it's so easy to get caught up in the person that's not maybe enjoying your or doesn't care, or what I guess the word he was like, I'm not interested or whatever. Right. But at the same time, I got one of my other idols and my heroes going, oh my God, this is great stuff. He did the best thing during the pandemic. It's like, I'm going to choose to focus my energy there. When I was younger, I probably wouldn't be able to do that. And as I get older, like, man, what a blessing, man. Go, Joe Rogan is saying, yo, we did some amazing shit, and we did the best thing during the pandemic. And
he thinks it's worth bringing up to Chappelle.
Worth bringing up to the live and go with comedy. It was like, I don't know. For me, I think we should be very proud of it.
Yeah.
And at the end of all of this, he found a way to stroke his ego. That's what this was all about the whole time. The granddaddy of stand-up comedy wasn't interested in your little videos and you couldn't handle it, so you turned your podcast into a little therapy session. Sounds like Bert Kreischer and Tom Segura. It's kind of cute in a way though, right? Anyway, that's how it all went down, and one thing that I personally find really comforting about all of this is that Dave Chappelle probably has no idea about this supposed beef. I wonder if anyone actually told him or asked him about it. All of this happened in Schulz's little boy band bubble, and the big man is just living his life. Oh, that's great. Let me know what you guys think. Drop a comment below. I'll pin the best one. Hit the like button, become a subscriber so you get my uploads in your feed, and I'll chat to you guys in the next one.
What else did you invent, Feathers?
To be honest,
I'd really like to know what you've invented and what you've trademarked, because I don't know a god thing that you've done.